So now we're going to make leaven. And leaven is the actual animal that you put in the bread to create the dough. It's a bigger portion. I wanted to put this up because I forgot to yesterday, but when you're feeding the starter, those are your proportions. And what you're going to notice with feeding starter is people will give you different proportions. I prefer the proportion where 1 part starter, 4 parts water, 4 parts flour. But that's not necessary. It can be 1-5-5 is what a lot of people use as well. Okay, so back to leaven. So yesterday, well, it's yesterday for me. Last lesson, we made this starter. And you can see that, we fed it, I should say. And you can see that, again, it's all active and bubbly, sticking to the sides with big ass bubbles. That's your active starter. And look, I mean, I kind of, once you mess with it, it'll start deflating, but it was all the way up to here. And what it was yesterday up to here. So it doubled in size. So to create leaven for the dough, you want to make sure your starter is in a good place. And a good place means that it's doubled in size. Additionally, you want to make sure that it floats, and that's actually almost more important than the doubling. So take a hunk of it and make sure it floats on top of the water. And of course, you can't see it. There it is, it's floating. You can, it doesn't matter how much you put in there, it'll float. So that's when you're ready to make the leaven with your starter. So you can take this back out best you can with as little water as possible. And now we're going to make the leaven for the bread. So you're going to do more scale work. And you're going to want the bigger jar this time. If you were using smaller jars, you're going to want a bigger jar for the leaven, because the leaven will, at the end of this, when the leaven has completely activated, it will burst out of this larger jar. So what we're going to do, and again, you'll see all sorts of proportions for leaven, but this is the one that I do because it creates the amount of leaven I want. So what you're about is creating a quantity of leaven to put in your dough. So the proportions I use are 25 grams of, well, let's do 30. This is, again, this doesn't, it matters. You want to make sure you're 50% water, 50% flour, but you can put in more starter than that. So I'm doing 30 grams. You don't want to overdo it because it'll just explode into oblivion. And then I do 125 for water. Well, I'm going to try to pour this because I forgot to get a glass of water. You knew that was going to happen. And again, I'll call that good because, yep, there's water on the scale. So 125 for water. And 125 for flour. So you can see how much it's going to be. It's going to be more. It's going to be a lot. 23. Okay. So same process, stir rigorously. Incorporate air, mix it all together, no dry stuff left. Make sure the starter gets all mixed in there. Cover it, put it in a warm spot. So mine typically takes, again, I set it when I want to make bread, I set this by the stove. Over the course of the next 12 hours, it will be warm enough, and this will be bursting out of the container. So of course you could use a bigger container, but I just don't bother, I guess. So it's about, you can see it's about halfway full there. Okay, so I'll put that by the stove for, and the leaven will take about, for me in my climate, it takes about, I would say I do it every, I use the leaven after like 12 to 14 hours. So typically I make this at night, and in the morning I can start my loaf of bread. It's totally up to you. So this is going in a warm place. Meanwhile, I still have this leftover starter in here from when I just made the leaven. So I'm just gonna feed my starter, and that'll be my new starter. So I'm just gonna feed this so I have it. And so we'll go over that again. Again, feeding the starter is, my proportion is 15 grams of starter. Sticky. And the proportions are 1:4:4. And, well, come on. 60, I bet you want to see me do this, huh? 60 grams of water. Oh, that was really good. And 60 grams of flour for the starter. And this is just a starter. I'll keep going. Then again tomorrow I'll feed it and keep it going. Stir it rigorously as always. And this is my starter. So you always keep your starter going. If you don't, you'll have to start at the very beginning with lesson 2 and create a new starter. That's why you keep the one you have going. Plus, older yeast, I guess they say, I wouldn't know, older yeast produces more better, more interesting flavors, I guess. I wouldn't know. The starter I got online. And it was great. I mean, it was from Canada, so, and it's apparently 40 years old, so someone's been passing it down and keeping it alive for 40 years. So this is my new starter. Just set it aside and feed it tomorrow. And that's it. That's the leaven process, and tomorrow, or in 12 to 14 hours, we will turn it into dough, and that's the longest process. Bye-bye.